Hello, I'm Todd Sanford, and I'm going to be reading Isaiah 1 through 5 with you here today. So let's get started. Isaiah 1. The vision concerning Judah and Jerusalem that Isaiah, son of Amoz, saw during the reigns of Uzziah, Jotham, Ahaz, and Hezekiah, kings of Judea. Hear, O heavens, listen, O earth, for the Lord has spoken. I reared children and brought them up, but they have rebelled against me. The ox knows his master, and the donkey his owner's manger. But Israel does not know, my people do not understand. Ah, sinful nation, a people loaded with guilt, a brood of evildoers, children given to corruption. They have forsaken the Lord, they have spurned the Holy One of Israel and turned their backs on him. Why should you be beaten anymore? Why do you persist in rebellion? Your whole head is injured, your whole heart afflicted. From the sole of your foot to the top of your head, there is no soundness, only wounds and welts and open sores, not cleaned or bandaged, or soothed with oil. Your country is desolate, your cities burned with fire, your fields are being stripped by foreigners right before you, laid waste as when overthrown by strangers. The daughter of Zion is left like a shelter in a vineyard, like a hut in a field of melons, like a city under siege. Unless the Lord Almighty had left us some survivors, we would have become like Sodom. We have been like Gomorrah. We would have been like Gomorrah. Hear the word of the Lord. You rulers of Sodom, listen to the law of our God, you people of Gomorrah. The multitude of your sacrifice, what are they to me, says the Lord? I have more than enough of burnt offerings, of rams and the fat of fattened animals. I have no pleasure in the blood of bulls and lambs and goats. When you come to appear before me, who has asked this of you, this trampling of my courts? Stop bringing meaningless offerings. Your incense is detestable to me. New moons, Sabbaths, and convocations. I cannot bear your evil assemblies. Your new moon festivals and your appointed feasts, my soul hates. They have become a burden to me. I am weary of bearing them. When you spread out your hands in prayer, I will hide my ears from you. Even if you offer my prayers, I will not listen. Your hands are full of blood. Wash and make yourself clean. Take your evil deeds out of my sight. Stop doing wrong. Learn to do right. Seek justice. Encourage the oppressed. Defend the cause of the fatherless. Plead the case of the widow. Come now, let us reason together, says the Lord. Though your sins are like scarlet, they shall be as white as snow. Though they are red like crimson, they shall be like wool. If you are willing and obedient, you will eat the best from the land. But if you resist and rebel, you will be devoured by the sword. For the mouth of the Lord has spoken. See how the faithful city has become a harlot. She once was full of justice, righteousness used to dwell in her, but now murderers. Your silver has become dross. Your choice wine is diluted with water. Your rulers are rebels, companions are thieves. They all love bribes. They chase other gifts. They do not defend the cause of the fatherless. The widow's case does not come before them. Therefore the Lord Almighty, the Mighty One of Israel, declares, I will get relief from my foes and avenge myself on my enemies. I will turn my hand against you. I will thoroughly purge away your dross and remove all your impurities. I will restore your judges as in the days of old, your counselors as the beginning. Afterward you will be called the city of righteousness, the faithful city. Zion will redeem with justice her penitent ones with righteousness. But rebels and sinners will both be broken, and those who forsake the Lord will perish. You will be ashamed because of the sacred oaks in which you have delighted. You will be disgraced because of the gardens that you have chosen. You will be like an oak with fading leaves, like a garden without water. The mighty man will become tinder, and his work a spark. Both will burn together, with no one to quench the fire. Chapter 2. This is what Isaiah son of Amos saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as chief among the mountains. It will be raised above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many people will come and say, Come, let us go up to the mountains of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his path. The law will go out from Zion, the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Come, O house of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord. You have abandoned your people, the house of Jacob. They are full of superstitions from the east. They practice divination like the Philistines and clasp hands with pagans. Their land is full of silver and gold. There is no end to their treasures. Their land is full of horses. There is no end to their chariots. Their land is full of idols. They bow down to the work of their hands, to the fingers that the fingers have made. So man will be brought low, and mankind humbled. Do not forgive them. Go into the rocks, hide in the ground from the dread of the Lord and the splendor of his majesty. The eyes of the arrogant man will be humbled, the pride of men brought low. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day. The Lord Almighty has a day in store for all the proud and lofty, for all that is exalted, and they will be humbled. For all the cedars of Lebanon, tall and lofty, and all the oaks of Bashan, for all the towering mountains and all the high hills, for every lofty tower, for every fortified wall, and for every trading ship and every stately vessel. The arrogance of man will be brought low, and the pride of men humbled. The Lord alone will be exalted in that day, and the idols will totally disappear. Men will flee to caves in the rocks and to the holes in the ground from the dread of the Lord, and the splendor of his majesty will rise as to shake the earth. In the day men will throw away to the rodents and bats their idols of silver and idols of gold, which they made to worship. They will flee to caverns in the rocks and to the overhangs, crags from dread of the Lord, and the splendor of his majesty when he rises to shake the earth. Stop trusting in man, who has built a breath in his nostrils. Of what account is he? Chapter 3. See now, the Lord Almighty, is about to take from Jerusalem and Judah both supply and support, all supplies of food and all supplies of water, the hero and warrior, the judge and the prophet. the soothsayer and elder, the captain of 50 and a man of rank, the counselor, skilled craftsman, and clever enchanter. I will make boys their officials. Mere children will govern them. People will oppress each other, man against man, neighbor against neighbor. The young will rise up against the old, the base against the honorable. A man will seize one of his brothers at his father's home and say, "You have a cloak. You be our leader. Take charge of this heap of ruins." But in that day he will cry out, "I have no remedy. I have no food or clothing in my house. Do not make me the leader of the people." Jerusalem staggers. Judah is falling. Their words and deeds are against the Lord, defying his glorious presence. The look of their faces testifies against him. They parade their sin like Sodom. They do not hide it. Woe to them! They have been brought disaster upon themselves. Tell the righteous it will be well with them, for they will enjoy the fruit of their deeds. Woe to the wicked! Disaster is upon them. They will be paid back for what their hands have done. Youths oppress my people. Women rule over them. Oh, my people, your guides lead you astray. They turn you from the path. The Lord takes his place in court. He rises to judge the people. The Lord enters into judgment against the elders and the leaders of his people. It is you who have turned my vineyard. The plunder from the poor is in your houses. What do you mean by crushing my people and grinding the face of the poor? Declare the Lord Almighty. The Lord says, "The women of Zion are haughty, walking along with outstretched necks and flirting with their eyes, tripping along their menacing steps, with ornaments jingling on their ankles. Therefore the Lord will bring sores on their heads of the women of Zion. The Lord will make their scalps bald. In that day the Lord will snatch away their finery, the bangles and the headbands and the crescent necklace and the earrings and the bracelets and the veils and the headdresses and the ankle chains and sashes, the perfume bottles and the charms, the signet rings, the nose rings, the fine robes and the capes and cloaks, the purses and mirrors, and the linen garments and the tiaras and shawls. Instead of fragrance, there will be a stench. Instead of sash, a rope. Instead of well-dressed hair, baldness. Instead of fine clothing, sackcloth. Instead of beauty, branding. Your men will fall by the sword, your warriors in battle. The gates of Zion will lament and mourn. Destitute, she will sit on the ground. In that day, 7 women will take hold of one man and say, "We will eat our own food and provide our own clothes. Only let us be called by your name. Take away our disgrace." In that day, the branch of the Lord will be beautiful and glorious, and the fruit of the land will be the pride and glory of the survivors of Israel. Those who are left in Zion, who remain in Jerusalem, will be called holy. All who are recorded among the living of Jerusalem. The Lord will wash away the filth of the women of Zion. He will cleanse the blood stains from Jerusalem by a spirit of judgment and a spirit of fire. Then the Lord will create over all the mountain of Zion and over those who assemble there a cloud of smoke by day and a glow of flaming fire by night. Over all the glory will be a canopy. It will be a shelter and a shade from the heat of the day, and a refuge and a hiding place from the storm and rain. Chapter 5. I will sing for the loved ones. I love a song about his vineyard. My loved one had a vineyard on a fertile hillside. He dug it up and cleared it of stone. He planted it with the choice vines. He built a watchtower in it and cut out a winepress as well. Then he took a crop of good grapes, but it yielded only bad fruit. Now you dwellers of Jerusalem, the men of Judah, judge between me and my vineyard. What more could I have done for my vineyard than I have done for it? When I looked for the good grapes, why did it yield only bad? Now I tell you what I am going to do with my vineyard. I will take away its hedge, and I will destroy it, and it will be destroyed. I will break down its wall, and it will be trampled. I will make it a wasteland, neither pruned nor cultivated, and barriers and thorns will grow there. I will command the clouds not to rain on it. The vineyard of the Lord Almighty is the house of Israel, and the men of Judah are the garden of his delight. And he looked for justice, but saw bloodshed, for righteousness, but he heard cries of distress. Woe to you who add house to house, and join field to field, till no space is left, and you live alone in the land. The Lord Almighty has declared in my hearing, surely the great houses will become desolate, the fine mansions left without occupants. A 10-acre vineyard will produce only a bath of wine, a homer of seed only a ephah of grain. Woe to those who rise early in the morning, to run after their drinks, who stay up late at night, till they are inflamed with wine. They have harps and lyres at their banquets, tambourines and flutes and wines. But they have no regard for the deeds of the Lord, no respect for the word of his hands. Therefore my people will go into exile. For lack of understanding, their men of rank will die of hunger, and their masses will be parched with thirst. Therefore the grave enlarges its appetite, and open its mouth without limit. Into it will descend their nobles and masses with all their brawlers and revelers. So man will be brought low, and mankind humbled, the eyes of the arrogant humbled. But the Lord Almighty will be exalted by his justice, and the holy God will show himself holy by his righteousness. Then sheep will graze as their own pasture, lambs will feed among the ruins of the rich. Woe to those who draw sin along the cords of deceit and wickedness, as with cart of ropes. To those who say, let God hurry, let him hasten his work so we may see it. Let it approach. Let the plan of the Holy One of Israel come so we may know it. Woe to those who can call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. Woe to those who are wise in their own eyes and clever in their own sight. Woe to those who are heroes at drinking wine and champions at mixing drink, who acquit the guilty for a bribe, to deny justice to the innocent. Therefore, as tongues of fire lick up straw, and as dry grass sinks down the flames, so their roots will decay, and their flowers blow away like dust. For they have rejected the law of the Lord Almighty, and spurn the word of the Holy One of Israel. Therefore the Lord's anger burns against his people. His hand is raised, and he strikes them down. The mountains shake, and their dead bodies are like refuge in the streets. Yet for all this, his anger is not turned away. His hand is still upraised. He lifts up a banner for the distant nations. He whistles for those at the ends of the earth. Here they come swiftly and speedily. Not one of them grows tired or stumbles. Not one stumbles, not one slumbers or sleeps. Not a belt is loosened at the waist. Not a sandal thong is broken. Their arrows are sharp and their bows are strung. Their horses' hooves seem like flint, Their chariot wheels are like whirlwinds. Their roar is like that of a lion, and their roar like young lions. They growl as they seize their prey and carry it off with no one to rescue. In that day, they will roar over it like the roaring of the sea, and if one looks at the land, he will see darkness and distress. Even the light will be darkened by the clouds. Thank you for reading those few chapters with me today.
Hello, and welcome to Fear into Faith Global Bible Revival, where we're on a mission to get 1 million people to read the Word of God. My name is Summer Day, and I have with me in the studio Mr. Todd Sanford.
Hello. So excited to be here.
I don't know who's more excited, me or you.
Me.
No.
You've been making fun of me off camera pretty hard, so yeah.
Don't tell my secrets just yet. It's not making fun. It's just having some fun with the family.
Folks, they're making fun of my accent, my cowboy
accent. Stop it right now.
Yeah. So accent, yeah.
You're amazing. You're amazing. I'm so grateful for you for being here. Tell everybody just a little bit about yourself. They probably figured out where you're from yet, but in case they don't know, where are you from?
San Angelo, Texas, dead center of Texas.
Born and raised Texan?
Man, born and raised right there in that area within 45 minutes of where I live right now my whole life. So, yes. Fifth, sixth generation. Well, my boys are sixth generation Texans. So, yeah, we're a long line of Texans. Proud of it.
And what'd you grow up doing?
Well, growing up, lived in a small community, about 2,000 people. So we were real tight-knit little community. Ended up becoming a professional firefighter and paramedic, and I was doing that for 35 years, for 28 and a half as a professional. Broke my neck in the process of being a fireman. Got trapped in a burning building, and they had to dig me out. Yeah. Had a lot of crazy stuff. We're in the middle of a desert. I'm the only person in the history of San Angelo that got hauled out of a lake and had the bends and was taken to the hospital and didn't expect to live. We were diving for a body, and crazy story, crazy stuff in the fire department. Loved it, though, 28 and a half year career.
You're just throwing so many things at me at once. I can't handle. I'm like, I'm juggling.
That's my life. I've juggled my whole life. So
firefighter.
Yeah.
35 years, you said?
35 total, 28 and a half as a professional. I was a volunteer first and then moved into that, and retired as the operations fire chief, the number 2 chief, and just loved what I did, but it was time to move on and do something different.
Now, before we move on, you mentioned about getting hurt and you had broken your neck, and I love that story. We're going to unpack that story a lot because you're one of the stories in the 52-week Bible study journal, which I'm assuming y'all have gotten your hands on. You got to get that year of miracles with 52 stories of miracle signs and wonders. So we're going to unpack that one. That one gets unpacked a whole lot more in that interview. But I would love to hear a different story of what was your greatest rescue as a firefighter or something that stood out?
Man, I had a couple, had some as paramedics, delivered 3 babies.
Okay, yeah. That's not something that other people do at their job.
No, those were crazy. Those were crazy.
How does that work? Is it because somebody just calls the paramedics and you were the one that showed up?
Yeah, they're having a baby, and so they panic and call up paramedics. We delivered 2 at the house, and then 1 was in the back of the ambulance. Okay. That was quite adventurous.
Do they train for that?
Yeah, we did.
No way.
We did. You train for it, but you're not prepared for it. I mean,
I bet
it really.
It's not like catching a football, right? I know you were a quarterback.
No, it was slippery as no. It's
catching a football.
I mean, yeah, I had 3 kids of my own.
Yeah,
that was very controlled. In the back of an ambulance, because the driver.
Oh, it was driving. It wasn't even stopped.
No,
you're delivering.
We were going, and the driver's hauling it. The ambulance is going everywhere, and the baby goes, and you're just sliding everywhere, and
Oh my
it's
goodness.
crazy.
Okay, I was picturing a stopped ambulance. So no, you guys didn't even stop.
No,
catching the baby.
No, I'm screaming in the back, get me to the hospital because I don't want to deliver this baby. So my driver's driving real fast.
Wow.
But that's
Anything stand out from a fire rescue?
we had one. You talk about we're here talking about faith and stuff, and I'll say that truly there's been a bunch of rescues of me that were amazing. That firemen came in and saved me at some fires, but the one that stands out was everything fell into place one day. We had a lady that she caught her house on fire, and she tried to put it out herself, and then she ran to her bedroom and got trapped. One of the firemen found her and pulled her out, carried her, met me in the hallway. I was just coming in, handed her to me. I carried her, brought her out. Just happened to have one of my men that had been taking an ambulance to a hospital visit, brought the ambulance by, heard the call come in, and parked the ambulance. So we had all of our equipment right there.
Yeah.
I carried the lady out. She wasn't breathing. We laid her down. We intubated her. We started CPR. We brought her back and saved her life. I mean, so as far as life saving, that one would probably be the tops on the saving somebody's life in a fire. That was pretty cool.
Now, did you always want to be a firefighter?
I think I did. My grandparents gave me a ladder truck when I was a little kid, probably 5 years old. My uncle was a volunteer, so I really did. And that was always what I wanted to do. At 16, you could become a volunteer if your parents signed off on you.
Yeah.
My parents refused to sign off, said that's too dangerous. So my 17th birthday, the day I turned 17, you were considered an adult and you could sign off for yourself. Wow. And I went and joined the volunteer. So from the day I turned 17 till I retired, I was always a firefighter. And so, yeah, I wanted to do it. And then life threw some curveballs at me and really didn't have a choice. I had to pursue that. I had to quit college. We lost our home growing my home that I grew up. I was in college. My mom lost the home, had no place to live. So I quit college. I moved home. Me and her found a tiny little FHA house, and we were living in that little tiny community. And I did that for a year and a half, 2 years.
Okay,
and that wasn't.
We gotta pause you again. So you dropped out of college to go take care of your mom.
Well, in my mind, I did. In my mind, I went home because she had nothing and she needed me. But to be real honest, I went home and I was I'd been playing football at college. I'd finally made the team. I was a second string, strong safety, and I was living the dream I always had. And so
we mentioned you were a quarterback in high school.
I was,
okay.
and just loved football more than anything back then. And so when I quit, to be real honest, I tell everybody, yeah, I went home for my mom. But the reality was when I got home, I was messed up. I was mad. I was angry at my father because he was the reason we lost our home. Mom and dad had divorced already, but he was the reason. And so I was so angry. I'd go to work every day, and then the check that I had that I should have been helping mom with went to the local bar. And that's where I spent my time. And so yeah, I always say, but
you came home with good intentions.
I did. And I made it up to her later on in life. My mom we're fixing to celebrate her 85th birthday.
I love it.
I bought her a house right next to me. She lives right next to me.
Aww.
We see her or talk to her just about every day. She's an amazing, amazing woman. Everything that I became in my life, I owe to that woman just for protecting me when I was younger in high school and junior high. She's always been my rock.
I love it. So you went back to take care of your mom, but you're definitely taking care of her now. She's living right next door to you. You're seeing her every day.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love it.
I want to have a son, and I want him to do the same thing for me. We're going to take a break real quick.
You can check out the rest of this interview right here or by going to BibleRevival.tv. And if this show has blessed you, you can help us bless others by partnering with us for as little as $20 a month and help us to expand the reach of this show. We'd also like to invite you to join our Kingdom Discipleship Program, where you have an opportunity to get on weekly Bible Zoom calls with us and people around the world to deep dive into His Word. And you can check all that out at BibleRevival.tv. I'll see you next time, my friend.